Now, there are stark warnings that government proposals to redefine Islamophobia could shut down discussion around rape gangs. Now, the think tank group, the Policy Exchange, have said that the working group on the new definition, led by the former Attorney General Dominic Grieve, needs to be suspended with immediate effect, with concerns that the ability to hold those accountable for the rape gang scandal could be hindered. Well, let's speak now with the head of security and extremism at the Policy Exchange, and that's Paul Stott. Paul, welcome to the show. An excellent report you guys have out called How Not to Tackle Grooming Gangs, and central to that is this redefinition of the word Islamophobia. Tell us why you think this is a terrible idea.
Well, our report basically starts on the premise, Martin, that the ground on which British politics sits, or certainly the ground of this debate, has completely shifted following the national audit by Baroness Casey. And I think the Home Secretary did seem to recognise that. At the weekend, there's a recognition that people have been vilified in the past for making entirely sensible comments about grooming gangs. Indeed, Louise Casey herself was given the award of was nominated for Islamophobe of the Year by one activist group for a previous report she did on Rotherham. We know Andrew Norfolk and Cryer, local MP in Keighley, got terrible stick off people, and they were all right to say the things that they did. It was their critics that were in the wrong. And what we can't do with this inquiry when it gets going is put a straitjacket on it. It needs to look in a lot of dark areas. It needs to get stuck in to failing past police inquiries, issues around local councils. And our fear is if there's a definition of Islamophobia, people will be afraid to speak out.
I can't see anything that can criticise you on. The notion that Baroness Casey herself in 2017 was nominated to be Islamophobe of the Year because she was investigating the Rotherham scandal is in itself surely enough to send the alarm bells that we should and could, be allowed to criticise anything. It was only a short while ago that calling these rape gangs Pakistani-dominated rape gangs, which is factually correct, was Islamophobic. The timing is terrible. Surely they've got to press the pause button. But do you think that will happen?
Well, this group that you mentioned, the Muslim hatred / Islamophobia definition working group, as its rather lengthy title, is headed by Dominic Grieve. It was established by the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, back in February, and given 6 months to come up with a working definition of Islamophobia. It wasn't tasked with whether there should be a definition at all, which does rather suggest that people's minds are made up. And indeed, Dominic Grieve, as chair, he had previously supported the APPG, All Party Parliamentary Group on British Muslims, who came up with an earlier definition. So in many ways, I fear this is a done deal. Indeed, one of my colleagues, Sir John Jenkins, former ambassador to Saudi Arabia, he was asked to give evidence to Mr. Grieve's group, and he declined to do so, basically fearing it's a done deal, that the government's committed on this. And our argument now is because of what's clearly been established by Baroness Casey, because of the need to have a full and proper and fearless inquiry, Angela Rayner now needs to pause this group, and the government needs to pause all its work on an Islamophobia definition. That doesn't mean stopping work on anti-Muslim hatred. That's already illegal. It means pausing work on an Islamophobia definition, and that's for the government to do now.
Paul Stott, do we even need a definition of Islamophobia specifically as a specific protected religion? We have, as you quite correctly say, anti-hate crimes. We have equality laws which specifically protect people along lines of faith, along race, along gender. We have the framework already. Why do we need special dispensation? Why do we need special treatment? And could that give special cover to wrongdoings, particularly around the sensitive issue of rape gangs?
Well, I don't think we need a special dispensation for one faith. And indeed, at Policy Exchange, we've argued now for 5 or 6 years that a definition of Islamophobia would inevitably restrict freedom of speech. And even though the government's current position is it wouldn't be legally binding, the reality is that in practice it would be, because if it's accepted by employers, it's accepted by trade unions, it's accepted by government and across the public sector, it in effect becomes the rules, the policy, the law of your workplace. And I think it'd be very difficult for somebody who, for example, worked in a local authority in somewhere like Rochdale, Rotherham, Telford, some of the areas where we've seen real problems in the past. It'd be very hard for them to speak out if they know it's going to cost them their job. So the case against this definition or policy is stronger now than it ever has been.
And Paul Stott, Sir John Jenkins, the co-author of this report, I think just sums it up brilliantly. He says this: the redefinition of Islamophobia will almost certainly turbocharge cancel culture and would be an undeniable act of two-tier policy, creating special status and protection for members of one faith alone. I put it to you again, Paul Stott, that is not how we live in Britain. We don't have special protection. We stand before the law, we stand before God with equity.
We do, Martin, and I think the government is now beginning to be a little bit rattled by the charge of two-tier policy, two-tier policing, etc., etc. has been one of the big debates. If it accepts a definition of Islamophobia, that would be the worst example yet of two-tier policy, and it will have a very negative effect on social cohesion, on community relations, and I think also they'll pay the price at the ballot box potentially.
Paul Stott, an excellent summary, and of course adding nobody should be discriminatory towards anybody for their faith. This isn't about that. This is about, do we need special definitions? Paul Stott, excellent. Thanks for joining me today on the show. A pleasure to have your company from Policy Exchange. Great report.